friends and old friends. Today I am going to do this video in two segments, part today and part tomorrow. And today is Saturday, the 26th, I believe. We're still on baby watch, and so I am trying to continue my organizational skills. I mean, yesterday we went to Bend to run errands that we wanted to get done, and I hadn't done that kind of shopping in months, and by the time we left Bend to come back home, I was like beyond the bee. Yeah, beyond. It was, I didn't realize that I had burrowed in my little space, and that's not so little anymore. But I hadn't been out in that way in so long that my tolerance for it is like over. I am done with that. You know, do you remember when you were young and they were first building those malls, and shopping was like an event? You could not wait to go shopping. And now I'm like, ugh, shopping is like at the bottom of my list. Yeah, at the bottom of my list. And so by the time we got home, I was way done. But you know, my daughter-in-law is nesting, and because she's nesting, I'm nesting. Nest. So I wanted to reorganize my whole pantry. I was stepping over things, and I needed a shelving unit. Well, the thing about living in this area of Oregon is we're basically what they call landlocked. There's only so many ways here, and when you have fire or slides from snow volume, your roads get cut off, and so you tend to be a little bit more preppy, maybe, you know. Like, there's a lot of people here who have generators because, you know, in the winter you keep your freezer going kind of thing, and keep your heat on. But what I'm finding now is that because there's no way for semi-trucks to come over the mountain directly to us, they have to go around to get to us, which means that our shelves are a little bit bare and the prices are a lot higher because they have to recoup all that transportation and time cost. So I've turned into a little bit more of a prepper. So today I had picked up a bunch of green onions at the farm, and I chopped them up, and too bad you can't smell it, but I am drying green onions for this winter. Yeah, so it's kind of a different time, isn't it? And it's so funny because I'm realizing some of the holes in my my crafting world, so I've been beefing those up a bit and getting ready. We're waiting any day. If we don't hear from that my daughter-in-law's gone into labor, we will head over the mountain this next week anyway. The car seat, our grandson's car seat, is all mounted in the back seat of our car. We got our own car seat, and I'm going over today to the fire department to have them check that we did it correctly. And then I'm just going to keep working away. So today, because it's Saturday, and I know that tomorrow is the new Hexie theme will be released from Spring Daisy Stitchery, I am going to be stitching my current week, which is mystical. on my pieces together and then stitch them to the background. And then, you know, Sue Spargo has the Squash Squad going on, and so I have that prepped and ready to start stitching on that. On Monday she releases the first set of stitchery, and this is a great way for someone who's just starting because it's simple. It's 5.5-inch blocks that'll go together in a 15-inch square, and 9 weeks long. And you get, from Monday to Thursday, you get one stitch to do, and she has a video on how to do that stitch, which breaks it down into a very simple, manageable way to learn. So I'm doing that just because it's manageable, and I can always learn something. So today I'm doing that. Did I show you my, I might have showed you this already, but this was last week's block. So that's all done. Block 1 is all done. Working on block 2. And then I got a call from my long arm quilters that I had quilts to pick up, and so I will show you those. You won't get a really good view of them. I'll show you better in the second segment of this video. I'm going to do this video in 2 separate recordings because otherwise it'll be kind of boring just to sit here and not see me accomplishing. I want you to know that I do accomplish something. So between this one and the next one, I'll have a binding at least attached to the quilt and give you a better view of what they look like. But let me just show you. First of all, let me show you this one that I'm sending off today because I want you to see it before I send it off. It's this. It came in a kit, and it's one of those really soft, minky, cuddly blankets with these cute ladybugs. This is going off to my one cousin who had a baby girl a little over a month ago, or 2 months ago. I think I need to get going. So that's got to be put in the mail. Oh, it's just so cozy. And then this one I'm going to be quilting myself. Now I've collected Charlie Harper fabrics for a long time, and they keep releasing his design, his artwork onto fabric. So there is even new Charlie Harper fabric, but I had a whole bunch of old ones along with some interspersed other fabrics, and this is from 2015. Hyacinth Quilt Designs is where you can get a free download of this pattern, if it's still on there, because it was 2015, let me tell you. But Cindy Lemon is the designer, and I'll try to remember to put a link below in the description box. But this took a lot of math, and with the help of a friend, it is done. Done. Oh, I got it sideways. There we go. There we go. So it's a modern kind of quilt, and it really was done in segments with all the same size inner blocks, and then you put the big blocks together. And I'm going to quilt it with a simple line because it's contemporary. His artwork is contemporary and modern, and I don't want to take away from that. So that is going to be the next thing I quilt, because I am so freaking excited to get this on the wall. I'm going to take it up to port. I have the perfect spot for it. I made this quilt a while ago, and it's finally getting quilted. It's Gingerbread fabrics, and I don't know if you can still get this. I've seen it, and when I've traveled around, I've seen pieces of it in some shops. You might find it on the internet if you Google, but it's a as I'm just explaining before you see, it's kind of a really contemporary quilt, and it really calls for like facing instead of binding, but because it's for a baby, my soon-to-arrive grandson, I decided that I'm just going to bind it in black because I hope this quilt gets used and abused, and at least the edging of it will, you know, dirt won't be showing up too much as it gets dragged around. But you might remember this fabric, and some of you might have collected it, and it's in your Isn't that fun? Now, I know you want a better view, and I will give you a better view after I get the binding on it, because then I'll move the camera in the second segment of this, which I will be doing tomorrow. And on the back is this great fabric with just pencils, all kinds of pencils on the back. And that fabric, I see the selvage, is a Cotton and Steels black and white. Yeah. So, I mean, look at that owl. Is that not the coolest thing? Yeah, so I'm doing that binding today. And then I have this quilt. It's been, and these were things that were on that my topper hanger, so that's why I didn't realize. I always heard that term, "Are you a topper?" And in quilting, that means you just like to put together the top, but the other parts of it are not so fun. And I didn't realize that that rack could have literally fallen off the wall from the weight of the tops. So it is kind of nice to get some of these things actually quilted. But what I have going now is the Leaning Tower of Pisa quilts, quilts that need the binding tack down, which I'm going to start doing that in October, because some of these are going to Christmas gifts. But this is a lovely, I believe this was like a turning 20 pattern, which was a really popular. It's a simple pattern, use up scraps or themes, and yeah, so I am going to be putting the binding on that today. Yeah, so I had my work cut out for me today, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. After spending all day yesterday running around, I absolutely need a day where I get to just hunker down. And boy, I can smell those onions that are drying in my food dryer. Is it lunchtime yet? Yeah, so and I added another piece to my organizational box for my Sue Spargo stitching, and that was this little stackable beads and buttons, so that I have those available. Yeah, I got a lot of things going, and it feels good. It feels really good. It kind of drizzled yesterday afternoon and evening, and today it's a cloudy blue sky. There's a new dusting again of snow on our mountains. I found out yesterday, which shocked me, you know, because I still have in my mind, I mean, my father-in-law lived here, and at that time, the population of sisters was like 200. And so it's grown, but it hasn't grown a lot, because it hasn't grown fast, I should say, because there's no real industry here. It's a tourist town. People pass through it to get to Bend. And so people don't necessarily want to live here unless they don't have to be anywhere else. Like if you had a job, you're going to be commuting most likely you'll be commuting to another city, because there's not a lot of industry or you know, it's small. It has always been small, but I heard something when I was at the paper place, which sells cards and such and gift items here in town, and I couldn't believe what I heard. The clerk was telling a tourist the population number for Sisters, and so I went home and I told Greg, I said, do you think that's how big we are? Are we that big? And so I actually Googled it, and the 2020 census for Sisters is just over 3,000. So we're a town of 3,000. That floors me, because I mean, we have basically 3 commercial streets in town, which means there's only 3 streets. Let's see, there's Cascade, which is the highway that goes through town, and then there's Hood, Main, 4, and Adams. 4 streets that are like what you would call commercial streets in town, where there's businesses. And 2 of those streets don't have very many businesses on them. It's so strange to think, you know, that we're that we're growing that much, but I guess so. I guess so. All you can count on is change, isn't it? Yeah, all you can count on is change. But I'm happy to be here and to be stitching away today. I hope you're having also a stitchy day, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow. Good afternoon. Welcome back. This is a 2-part Quilt Roadies video, because I didn't want to bore you with all my processes. But thank you for hanging in there for this second segment of my chaotic life. I found, I was reminded this morning when I woke up. I woke up at like 5:30 in the morning, and I just went ahead and got up and came up to the Beehive. It was dark outside, and it reminded me of back when I was working, because I mean, for a long time I worked night shift, and then when I switched to day shift, G and I would get up like at 4 in the morning to go to the gym, work out, crazy I know, and then head off to work early. And that pattern of getting up that early took a while to get over in retirement. It was like you could sleep in, but it's an interesting thing, and some of you may have the same experience, in that I was actually more productive when I was working than when I retired. And I know that it's an illusion, and let me tell you, social media, YouTube, it's an illusion. And there's where you have to balance it, because it may look like I'm getting a ton of stuff done. My gosh, how does she do it? But in reality, it's more like a chicken running around with their head cut off. And a lot of the things that you see me working on are things that I've been working on for literally years. So I don't want my illusional social media progress to at all make you feel like you are not accomplishing a lot. I actually accomplished more when I was working, and I think it's because I was scheduled. And I didn't have that running around thing so much. It was like I was very motivated, and I was in my quilt group, and we were constantly encouraging each other. In retirement, you're kind of, you're much more self-motivated, and if you don't have direction, you can just be spinning a lot of wheels. And so I just wanted to share with you that I am definitely on a Ferris wheel most of the time. And I know that it looks like I've been getting all these quilts done, but these tops, they've been hanging around here forever. And now the quilting's getting done and the binding's being put on, and now I have a year's worth of binding to tack down, literally. You do, in this COVID world, spend a lot of time alone, and you're your own best company. You're your own best company, and I have found that it's very interesting. It's an entirely, I mean, yesterday G and I spent the day, I could tell we were both off kilter, just a little bit on the downside, and we were doing stuff and we were getting things done, but somehow the reality of our existence was more present yesterday, and so we both admitted that yeah, we were a little bit depressed yesterday, and just kept putting one foot in front of the other. But I realized that the gift of COVID, and yes, there is a gift, is that there are some friendships that have been blossoming in the virtual world, and friendships that you had in the physical world are slowly moving on, which is an interesting thought to me, that that's happening in COVID. but it is, at least it's happening in my world, and so I'm just embracing it, and being encouraged by it, and being grateful that I am living during this time when technology allows me connections that I maybe couldn't have. I mean, yesterday, and you have to take a moment and go on to Ariane Zerscher's YouTube channel called On the Other Hand, and watch her latest video. I couldn't wait till I found a time to give it a watch, because she lives in New York City, and she was walking from her place to the subway, getting on the subway, and you get to walk along with her, and getting on the subway and heading to the garment district. I mean, it really is a must-see. And I called her up after I watched it, and I said, oh, I mean, it filled my heart on so many levels, because I was actually walking by her side. And my mother, when she immigrated to this country, one of the first jobs she had was in the garment district. She would, on a big, like, conveyor type line, be cutting threads off of dresses that were made. And so and my dad was a New Yorker, and when I was a baby, we lived in New York. But it was a great great video. So do go over and take a look at that. It was a nice walkabout, and so I called her up and I said, you've got to do more of those. You know, we are all like basically sheltered in our different places. We only get to see what's shown to us, but to have something to see that's shown by another YouTuber that we stitch with that's just cake. That's all cake. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. I'm trying a new kombucha. It's called Vanilla Blossom. It has hibiscus, cherry, clove, rooibos, and oolong. Boy, you can really taste the vanilla. Yes. Well, today I am going, at the end of this whole video, when G edits it, I will put up the winner of the drawing for the acorns / shamrock kit. Yeah, we'll actually put it up there on a board, so that be sure to pay attention towards the end and see if your name is up there. I have been working on binding. I got 2 quilts, the binding put on, and I will walk the camera over and show you the quilts so that you can maybe see them more laid out. And then this morning, you know, that was the thing. I'm back to the getting up at 5:30. It was so quiet. It's quiet here anyway, but when it's quiet and it's dark, it's like a little secret place. And I put some music on and just attached binding. And then I realized it's Sunday, and so we have a new theme for our Spring Daisy Sal, the Hexy Love Sal that we're doing with Spring Daisy Stitchery, is what I meant to say. And so I'm tacking down my hexies. Last week's theme was mystical, and so the pins are in the way, but I did, let's see, where's my needle? Oh, there it is. But I'm just sewing it to the background, and there's my little dragon, and did you see that he has a mask? Totally cracks me up. And then this one is Dumbledore's Army. Dumbledore's Army. Yeah, so and then those will be done. Today's Sunday, so I'm still on track. This next week's theme is transportation. And so I have to cut out my little scooter fabric. I used to have a pink scooter, but I gave it to a friend's daughter. And I used to love to ride that scooter. Oh, the wind blowing. Yes. And then I thought this was funny, transportation. And this one is a Ferris wheel. Isn't that funny? So I have to cut those out and prep them because I'm going to be taking those to Portland. I did finish my hexie mat. You know, I am making this for a friend, and I need to get it in the mail. And excuse me. This was, I showed you this before, this was a hexie mat that a class that I took, and for the life of me, my brain just did a brain fart, and her name slipped right away from me. But she's like this amazing, I can't, I'm too embarrassed that I don't, you know, this is what happens when you get older. is that the things you remember are not important. But let's see. Hexes by machine. Of course, there's all of these. Doesn't tell the name of the teacher. Oh well, I could spend all day searching. I'm very embarrassed. But I machine sew once. I made the hexie mat and I have sewn it to the background, and I had already put the binding on when I realized it really needed more quilting. And so what I can suggest to you is do all your quilting before you attach the binding, because it's kind of a pain in the butt to quilt with you're not trying not to snag the binding, but I do like it so much better with the quilting around it. I just really love it so much better. So I have to tack that binding down. I'm still tacking my Squash Squad piece with wool thread, and you just take a little bite of a little whip of that wool to get it attached, and then Monday starts Sue's. Do you feel like it? Can you tell that I'm just a little bit disorganized here, aren't I? It's pretty darn sad. I've been nesting. All I can say is I've been nesting. My daughter-in-law's been very patiently waiting, and we've been patiently waiting, trying to get organized. We decided to take today off, and G is out in the woods hiking around, because it'll be a while before he gets back out there. We were dreaming yesterday. I got this call from a friend, Terry Kircher, and she and her sister were traveling, and they traveled all the way to Ohio and visited Sue Spargo's store, and she called me and said, "Oh my gosh, you have to put that on your list." So that's what I was talking to G about last night, was we have to go to Ohio, and then we were sad about how camping has been. But yeah, that's definitely a bucket item. There's those places. That's the thing about traveling, is that there's those places that I still dream. Paducah, I need to go there. Missouri Star Company. She actually went to Missouri Star Company, but they were closed and said they wouldn't be open till the spring. Yeah, so they're just focusing online. I'm just using my silk thread, and I'm just whip stitching, and then you just tug it ever so slightly and the thread disappears, and it makes you look like an awesome applique person. This afternoon I am hosting a Zoom book meetup with my book group here in Sisters. It was my turn, and so the book that I had chosen was a stumble upon book. I'd never heard of the author. I had never read any of his other books, but I definitely will be putting him on my list for future books because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was The Bookshop for the Brokenhearted, and it was on, I was going on the library site to reserve another book that I wanted to read, and that was on the front page of the library's internet site, and the title is what caught me. And I was thinking, I had been reading, I tend to, I'm going to sneeze here, excuse me. I usually read, I'm encouraged to read fiction for sure by my book group, and but if left to my own devices, I tend to read factually based books, more so, like, so I like scientific, documentary type things, autobiographies, biographies. I do read fiction, but if it's not my number one. So, I just this last month got done with White Fragility. I am in the middle of Mary Trump's book. I am, it's that kind, I just have this whole list that I read. So I just felt like I needed something lighthearted, something that I didn't have to think too much about, And so I chose this book, thinking that would be the book, but in some way it was a lovely book. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely loved it. And it was set in Australia. And the title, The Bookshop of the Brokenhearted, really, that that just grabbed me right away, not knowing exactly what it was about. And it made me think, it made me cry, it made me wonder, it lifted my heart. Yeah, so it kind of provided a variety of emotions. So I could suggest that book. And so I had to go online and check out the book group discussion questions. And that in itself was interesting to read. The interview with the author, and, so that was really good. I can't believe that yesterday I actually had to go to the Stitch and Post and get binding fabric. I did not have any binding fabric that would work for binding. That was so, I couldn't believe that. So I really want to, I know it's like I'm talking on one side of the camera, and I sometimes can actually hear you. I sometimes, if I listen really hard, I can hear you. But here's the thing. I would love to pretend like I was having a conversation. And so in the comments, I would love for you to tell me what you're working on right now while you're watching this, and what did you have for breakfast? There's these things these conversations, not that you talk to your friend about your breakfast, but But there's things that we talked about with our friends when we get together, like, you know, what we're eating, dieting, you know, it's that kind of thing. And we are missing those conversations like that, like, you know, did you see anything at the store, or how's the dog doing, or, you know, all of that kind of thing. And so I'm kind of wanting a little bit of small talk. So tell me, what'd you have for breakfast, and was it good? Um, did you fall down the baking uh, trend that's going on? You know, and what's the weather like where you're at? When you're watching this, tell me in a comment what your weather is like. I know that there's some that are just in horrible weather situations, and then there's others who are just enjoying the last hurrah of the season. I got a email from the landscaper that it's time to put us on the schedule for winterization of the irrigation. Oh, I know. I mean, I'm ready. Our fire season is in no way over, but I am, and I know that the snow will make a difference, but I am not ready. I'm just not ready for it. I want a little bit more of a hurrah. Yeah, I want a little bit more. Oh, and my birthday month is coming up. You know how I celebrate the entire month. I mean, it's almost, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, I used to celebrate, I mean, last year, year before that, I celebrate my birthday all month long because I make things happen. I go places, I visit people, I do things that are fun. And so, but this year, I don't know if I want to celebrate all month. I mean, it's like, man, oh man. And then my girlfriend, one of my girlfriends said, can you imagine? Birthdays will never be the same. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, remember when we made birthday cakes and then you put the candles on and then you ask that person to blow the candles out? Well, no one's going to eat a slice of cake that someone's blown their saliva all over to blow the candles out. I was stunned. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I went, it never occurred to me. It never occurred to me. I just kind of went, holy moly. And then I've talked about Halloween before, and so when we were running errands, one of the places we had to stop at was an office supply place, and G was going in there, and there was a Michael's right next door, so I went in there just to look, and I found some Halloween candy bags, and so I'm kind of excited about that, because maybe we won't have trick-or-treaters like we did, but we might have some, and I think I'm gonna make up some candy bags and have them out on the front porch, you know. Oh, that's looking so good. My little dragon with his mask on. He's my COVID 2020 dragon. Doing these hexes makes me want to get my hand applique stuff out. There's something beautiful about hand applique. Keeping my fingers crossed for some changes in 2021. Hoping we can travel more. I am signed up for a workshop, which I don't know whether that will happen or not. And I know many of you probably are feeling the same way. Boy, this silk thread just goes through fabric like butter. I was texting back and forth with a couple of girlfriends this morning, and we were talking about our spending and such, and it was kind of funny because the one friend said she's trying to organize her stuff so that her kids don't end up with having to deal with all of her fabric and all of that, and deal with all her stuff like she had to deal with the passing of parental units before them, you know, and I have the complete opposite feeling in terms of that. My mom, I mean, oh man, the things we had to deal with. I mean, you know, those parents that came out of war, you know, they didn't throw a lot away. Everything had a use, and so it was a job, but it's almost like a rite of passage in a way, and I feel no inclination to, at this point anyway, to make it really easy for my children to deal with my stuff. I want to enjoy all my stuff, and you know, and maybe it's maybe it's delusional for me to think of, you know, the possibility, but who knows? One of my sons might become a quilter or a cross stitcher. They'll have a lot to choose from. Or my daughter-in-laws, you know, you just never know. But it's kind of fun to sometimes add a new piece of fabric or something to the stash. And oh, I was just drooling when Ariane was walking through that fabric store in the garment district in New York City. I mean, the way they had fabrics displayed and hung was so different than what I had seen, you know. And I know that one of the things that she showed, I told her, next time you go, spend more time there. I want to look at it longer, because the next time, I mean, I remember in the early days of my quilting that everybody was talking about Liberty of London fabric. And it wasn't readily available here, nor did I know really what it was about. But I remember it being very collectible. And they, in one of her shots in that shop is Liberty of London fabric. And so I really wanted to take a closer look. I wanted to yell at her, "Stop there! I want to see it." I'm going to get a little bit of a knot there. Okay. I knot that end so that I don't lose my needle off the silk thread. That's really easy to do with silk thread, and then you get, and the needle you use is so tiny, and so then you get frustrated and you don't want to do it anymore. So I always knot my silk thread at the eye end also to keep it from slipping out. I think I'm gonna pick up some of my old applique projects and start working on them too, because let's see, almost getting to the end there. See what time's my book group is at 2 o'clock. Oh, another question. Did I already ask this? Did I already ask this? Tell me what book you're reading, if you, or what was the last book you read? What was the last book you read? You know, I've also been catching up on Farm Girl Loves Goats. And, you know, although I discovered her on FlossTube, which is a cross-stitch channel, she's a quilter also, and she lives near, she doesn't live far away from Stacy West of Buttermilk Basin. And so, of which that girl is not calling me back, but I hope everything's going okay with her. But she likes a lot of quilting things like I do, and she's able to, you know, go to Buttermilk Basin. And so you might want to check her channel out, because she has, well, you have to actually, let me think about this, you actually have to join her Patreon channel. And when you join her Patreon channel, you get the option of looking at her life, like her farm life, her cross-stitch life, or her quilting life, and wool applique, and, you know, it's like a living magazine. But I like looking at her, well, I like looking at the farm life because it's different from mine. I think I've told you that before. But I also, she likes a lot of the same types of quilting that I do, and although I have to say I don't have one genre of quilting. Now this video, when it gets launched, when Jeannie's able to launch it, is going to be extra long because it was in 2 segments, and it's like doing 2 videos attached together. So if you wanted a shorter video, whoo, sorry, there we go. is attached. And can you see that he has a mask on? He's a dragon with a mask on. Yeah, so I have to do the other one, but I wanted to show you. Let's see if do I have it available here? Sorry. I'm digging through my piles here. I wanted to show you these two. I don't know if I showed these to you. So I have a girlfriend who is going to be 85 this year, and she's like a quilting mentor, or like a life mentor to me, you know, because I'm tracking right behind her, and I take a lot of cues from what she chooses and doesn't choose to do, you know. And one of the things that she has stopped doing is buying fabric and buying kits and that kind of thing. Because in her mind, she doesn't need a stash at her age, and she just wants to finish things. And so she'll call me up and say, hey, I need a kit to work on, or I need something to work on. Do you have something in your stash? And so I will actually go through my closet, pick something out, and take it over to her for her to stitch on, because she loves to stitch. She just doesn't want to buy anymore, which, hey, we might all get there, and I totally understand that. So I picked up her latest, and this was a kit I had. Isn't this cute? It's a table runner. So that's at either end of that. So she put that together for me. She does such nice work too. And then I sent over to her some buttermilk basin ugly sweater ornaments, you know, the Christmas ornaments, because they are hysterical. I love them. And so here those are. Okay, here we go. I can't wait to hang these up. Oop. I'm going to get a tiny tree and put it up here. So I don't know what she's working on for me now, but it's a very, very symbiotic relationship we have. So now I'm just going to take you over to show you the quilts that I put the binding on, and then we'll say goodbye. And thank you so much for hanging out with me and putting up with these two different segments, because I was not very organized. And we'll see you. Hopefully we'll have a new grandbaby. What do you think? Say some prayers for us and be safe. So we're taking a gander around my sewing room here. It's kind of messy, but so there's one quilt, and the binding I chose was a polka dot, a kind of gray polka dot, and this is I believe this is a turning 20 quilt. And then let me lift this one up And let's get the other one. Whoop, hang on, don't get too dizzy. See my pile of quilts there? Those all need the binding tacked down. And then I'll just show you my bookcase. So my bookcase here, I have 5x7 patterns. I have the little small patterns, the 3x6 or something, quilt books. I have binders filled with patterns and ideas. I have my wool scraps here. I have all kinds of reading books. We have books all over our house. I have an old British sewing machine, and it has Jones. It's a Jones sewing machine. And then that is it mostly has binding strips in it. This is a needlepoint art project, artwork, full coverage needlepoint artwork that my mother brought back from Europe. Some fun things from friends. And then over across the top, you can't really see, are different miniature quilts or artwork. There's that rack with tops that have to be quilted. And then family memories, and inside this cabinet is my hand applique. My hand applique stuff. Okay, so here's the next quilt. Hang on to your cookies. Okay, here we go. I decided to go with that black binding that I was talking about. And so I like how this quilt turned out, though. And this was all gingerbread fabrics. Isn't that cute? Okay, you guys take care. And G will insert right here the winner of the kit for the Shamrock kit. Take care. Love you guys.